Now guys, I have a very important job for you, and I need you to stay tuned until the end of this video so that you can look around and tell me if I missed any spots. Well, hey there, hobby homesteaders. Welcome back to Peak's Peak. My name's Lucas. We're sharing our hobbies on 38 acres in eastern Kentucky, and I am still taking my 1 week break from the house build to get the property cleaned up. So, our last video, we bush hogged the trails, bush hogged the fields, and we used the mulcher to make a brand new trail through our woods to get to the cabin and the pond. It was a lot of fun. We broke some stuff, had great times, but today, I'm getting ready to do my least favorite property maintenance, and that's run a weed eater. Things got away from me here in the wood yard, and I've got weeds everywhere. I've got stacks of lumber that are covered up in weeds. I've got equipment that's hidden by weeds. I can't find my buckets for my Kubota BX, and so yeah, it's time to dig out. I mentioned on our last video that I got a new tool that I was excited to share with you guys because it has some features that I really like. And I'm not so sure that I expected to. So that's right, I've been a Stihl guy, and I bought a Husqvarna. I have had good luck with Stihl products. I've enjoyed them. The last weed eaters that I bought, I had two Stihl FS55 weed eaters that I ran completely in the ground. Now, those are kind of a homeowner grade, homeowner size weed eater, and they're not meant for the abuse that I put them through, but we wore those weed eaters slap out. And it took years to do it. The day that I was shopping for a weed eater, I had every intention of buying a Stihl FS91, and it was a holiday, so all of the dealers were closed. And I stopped in a Rural King thinking that I had bought a Stihl chainsaw from a Rural King before, but this particular Rural King did not carry Stihl. They had Husqvarna weed eaters. Well, I had weed eating that needed done that day. So I just decided, hey, let's give it a shot, and I can show it on my channel and show you guys the differences in what I think about it. What I picked up is a Husqvarna 525LST Mark II. So I guess it's kind of the second generation of this 525LST weed eater. And to kind of give you an idea of the price point, we're looking at about a $400 weed eater. And that's comparable to that FS91R that I was intending to buy from Stihl. Lots of things are very comparable about those two weed eaters. The main difference being the Stihl is a 4-stroke, 28.4cc engine, and this is a 2-stroke, about a 26cc engine. This Husqvarna weighs about 1 pound less. Now, 1 pound is not a major deal, but by the same token, if you're carrying it around for hours, a pound makes a difference. 2-stroke has its advantages. It also has its disadvantages. There is not as much torque in a 2-stroke weed eater, but my experience level in running the 4-stroke Stihl weed eaters is running my son's FS111, which is a pretty comparable weed eater also to the FS91. It's just the next step up, so it's kind of the $500 level of weed eater. It's a very capable weed eater, but what I found is this Husqvarna seems to perform on about the same level from what I can tell. And it has a couple of things that I like better. Now, I'm kind of just going through the information and telling you about the things, the features of this weed eater and the things I like about it in the beginning, because some of you may be watching just to get information on this weed eater, and you're not watching to see my property updates and property information. So, thought I would kind of lead with that. The starting procedure on this weed eater is simple and straightforward, but it does have, the little glass primer bulb like most weed eaters have. The choke is very simple. You pull the choke lever up and pull the string until it fires, and usually they don't stay running when you hit that choke, so you pull it 4 or 5 times and it will fire. You bump the choke off and pull it a time or two and it'll fire up, and it seems to be pretty easy to start, pretty dependable, and not too hard. I like that it has a momentary on-off switch, so you don't have to remember which way's on and which way's off when the markings wear off of it. You just press it forward, it kills it, and you let off of it, and then it's reset back to its home position. That's a great feature. What I like most about this weed eater in comparison to the Stihl models is this refill cartridge setup. And I was a little concerned about it when I first pulled it off because it seems like it might be complicated with the little splines and the way that this fills, but it actually works really well and it's very simple to operate. Pull this out of here so I can show you. So here's your spool to fill, but you don't have to cut the string and feed it down in little holes like the Stihl head has. Instead, it's got a hook right there. And so you can pull off your 12 feet of line, hook it on here and get 6 feet in both directions, spin that around there, and you're loaded up here ready to go. You drop this down here in the slot that's nearest to dropping these over in their slots, and you're ready to feed this back on here in line with those, and it's as simple as that. The bump stop on this is a little bit, sticks out just a little bit further than the Stihl, and I think that helps me with not scalping the ground so much. But it also has a bearing in it, and I think that's going to help with the wear on this button. If you use Stihl products, you know that you're going to wear out these heads quite often. I probably went through 10 or more of those heads for my FS55s because you wear through the plastic and it wears out. But this spinning, I think probably is going to cut down on some of the wear on this. We'll see. So that's the basics of it. I'm going to put this thing to work and I'll let you see it in action and see the size of some of the stuff we're going to cut because I've not put it through this kind of a test yet. Most of this stuff has been growing the entire growing season, and we're in August. We're in late August. So it's got some girth to it, and we're going to find out whether it'll cut it or not. So I got the Husqvarna 525LST Mark II weed eater out here in the wood yard, and cleaned up, got everything looking absolutely perfect. And so I'm gonna give you guys a chance to spot and see if I missed anything. Let me walk out here where I can give you guys a view of the whole wood yard, and I'll let you guys tell me whether I missed anything. Okay, now, no cheating, no peeking. I've got your back to the wood yard because this is very important to me. I need you to look really closely because I need for this to be perfect, all right? Is everybody ready? Did you guys take a really close look? Did you spot anything? I know some of you are gonna be like backing this up and pausing it and doing play by play, frame by frame, so that you can send me a screenshot with little circled areas. And if you don't do it, I can promise you Brad from Piney Grove will, because that's the level of perfection he achieves. I don't. As you can tell, I had weeds this tall. We were actually weed eating trees. Not to mention, my wood yard is reproducing because my wood yard is growing trees. And those, I didn't even try, I think those are tulip poplars. I didn't even try to cut those out of the middle of that because, well, you know, I didn't want to go through all the string that I brought up here with me. But yeah, we've got it looking a whole lot better. Okay, fine, I'll give you the slow turnaround, and yes, you can spot a few spots I missed, I'm sure. But we look a whole lot better than we did before. And I don't know about you, but I continue to be impressed with the amount of power that little string trimmer has and what it's cutting down, because I was cutting briars this big around. I was cutting saplings this big around with the string and chopping them up pretty good. Like this mess over here, that was a disaster. And it did a good job with it, and it was low effort. I'm really happy with it so far. Maybe I should give Husqvarna a chance because it seems like a pretty good piece of equipment. I'll keep you guys posted on how I like it, but I think that's going to be enough for this video. I'm going to take the bighorn and the weed eater and head on over to the pond because I've got some weed eating to do over there. But I'd say that's just about enough for this video. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, get outside and enjoy God's creation because, man, it's beautiful out here. And you all have a good day.